So today was what's called an arraignment, so it's the first opportunity for a defendant to be informed of the charge and to enter a plea. Not surprisingly, all 6 defendants entered pleas of not guilty because they continue to hold a firm belief that they were simply exercising First Amendment rights protected by the Constitution. There is talk and an expectation that the ACLU will be filing litigation in federal court challenging the constitutionality of this law. So in all likelihood, if that lawsuit is filed, these proceedings will be stayed while we await a judgment from the federal court about whether this ordinance passed by the Cranston City Council violates the federal Constitution.
Well, as Andrew said, we intend to continue to fight these charges as far as they go. Hopefully this will be the last stop for this piece, and that the federal lawsuit will take things over from here. I feel like we are facing such a lesser version of this charge compared with the folks that are actually doing this for a means of survival. So it's an honor to be able to do our small part to stand up here today, but we're the ones who are actually least affected by this issue in the grand scheme of things. Above and beyond being unconstitutional, it's also just cruel and backwards. It attacks people who are visibly poor rather than investing in housing and solutions and building the kind of community that provides a reasonable quality of life for all of its residents. Instead, Cranston is taking the cheap road of just trying to criminalize the people that they don't want to see and get them out of our public spaces. As I was being cited the initial time, a motorist pulled up alongside of us. We were on the island still at that point, and asked what we were doing, and so I stepped over to give him a flyer to explain what we were doing, and the same officer who had given me the first citation did one of these and called me back over to give me a second one.
There's absolutely no evidence, there never has been, that there's a legitimate public safety issue. That is, in my view, a disgraceful effort on the part of the mayor and several city councilors to come up with a justification for doing what they've wanted to do for years, paid a lot of money in a prior litigation against the ACLU when it was clear and they had to concede that it was a violation of the Constitution. And they're simply trying to do it again under a color of an argument that really is not supported by any evidence at all. Sadly, I think we live in an environment right now where there's a lot of anger and a lot of hate and a lot of ignorance about issues surrounding poverty and homelessness, among other things. And there seems to be some public thirst, sadly, for trying to move poverty out of our public vision so that we don't have to see on a daily basis the economic disparities that actually exist in our society. I think it's sad, but I think that's what this is about. And certainly now they'll be aware of this trial date, and I think there's an incentive to make sure that that lawsuit is filed in advance of this trial date with an effort to stay these proceedings. I think everybody, at least those of us who care about the federal Constitution, would agree that a federal constitutional decision is much better rendered in federal court than in a Cranston Municipal Court. Well, in a related matter, I was a co-defendant. I was not charged with violating this ordinance, although I clearly was standing on the median on the same day as these folks violating the same ordinance for the same reason. I'm, I guess, an advisor, but also a participant. The traffic tribunal matters were all dismissed. The charges were absurd from the outset and a flagrant violation of our constitutional rights. They haven't been refiled, and I'm quite convinced they will not be refiled because there's no basis for any charge that would be filed in the Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal.